Hi friends and welcome back. I am so excited that you are here. I am loving this play along journal series where I take you along for every step of the way when I work through 2 handmade art journals. So we're back here for the 13th week, and I apologize if I sound a little stuffed up and congested. My allergies are acting up right now, but the show must go on. So we're starting out here, and I already have this tag that's going to go into the pocket. I really like to have some embellishments pre-done when I'm working in an art journal and when I create the art journal from the beginning. I like to add some of those elements in, and that helps me later on. I can still move them around and switch things up. But it gives you a really nice jumping off point. So I could have left it as is with how it is on the front and plain on the back, but I wanted to add a little something onto the back. So I'm starting with white gesso, and I put it on I wouldn't say a thick layer, but it wasn't thin either. Enough that I'm going to be, I take this wooden skewer and kind of mark through that wet paint while the paint is still wet. And you kind of then see an reverse effect. So I really like doing this, and I've been trying to think about using this technique a little bit more, and instead of just drying your paint right away, use it to your advantage. So on top I added a little bit of a gelato for some color, and those are really nice and creamy, and my favorite way to use them is by adding a little bit of water on top. So you can think about it like a Neo color crayon or a Stabilo all of those things that are water soluble. You can then dip your paintbrush in water and spread that pigment around. Actually, those techniques are one of my favorite ways to add color and pigment onto the page. I decided on a little quote that I want to use for this, and I really like having some of those already printed out or typed out ahead of time. If you're interested, I have a free download. I'll put the link in the description below with some art related quotes already typed up. This is just a nice resource to have on hand, so make sure to download that if you are interested. I want to add some more texture onto this page, and I always keep all of my little thread scraps in a jar on my desk. And my main reason for doing that is I like to make little thread beads with them, but I like to use them in other ways in my art journal as well. So here I'm just using it to bring out those colors a little bit more and to bring in some texture. So just with a glue stick, I'm loosely tacking that down. I don't need it to be perfect or every single thread to be tacked down. I want it to stay kind of loose and organic feeling. And adding in this little botanical that's been punched out of paper on top of that. Now, looking back at this, how it is, I think it very well could be done. I like how it looks, but I also like how it looks after I finish here. So I want to, what I'm doing there with the pencils, I just wanted to add a little bit of an outline just so that it stands out from the background a little bit more. And now with this China pencil, I'm going around the edges of this tag just to make it stand out a bit more. I like to use this technique because I feel like it just kind of sets it apart, and especially as I put that tag back in the pocket, I think it will help it just to stick out a little bit. As you can see, I'm kind of going back and forth whether I want the quote or not the quote. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I decide, since I already kind of ripped around it, that I'm going to add it on. But I do think it needs to stand up from the background a little bit. So if you don't have the China marker there, or you could use a color pencil or a Stabilo all, I'm using a small little paintbrush and kind of delicately going around the edges with some black gesso. There's so many different ways that you can add that around the edges, and you wouldn't have to just do black. You could do other colors as well. For me, I just like how the black kind of stands out. It's still not standing out maybe quite enough, and so I'm thinking about putting a little piece behind it. I think the key is just to kind of keep playing around until you get to a place that you're happy with. I urge you at times to maybe almost take a step back and look at your work. When we're looking at something so close for too long, I feel like we aren't seeing the big picture, maybe. And then we come back and think that maybe something is too busy, or we could have stopped sooner. I'm happy with the way that this looks, but it is hard sometimes when you're in the midst of creating to know when to stop or when to continue to push through. There's no right or wrong either way. I think it's just a skill like anything else that we continue to learn. I'm happy with how this all looks, and overall, just by looking at it, it's going to look like a pretty plain spread, but I really enjoy that after you take the tag out of the pocket is where you're going to get more interest. So it's almost like hidden interest a little bit. I'm going around the edges of this other page as well, since it's smaller than the page that's behind it. This will help it stand out even further as a little flip out of sorts. I try to link the supplies that I use down in the description below, but please don't hesitate to ask if I missed something, or maybe if a link isn't working. I don't think that it needs a lot more on this page, but I'm going to add a few little scribble marks. Again, I apologize for being a little bit more congested today. My thoughts are a little bit all over the place. Allergies just kind of tend to do that to you and take over your headspace a little bit. I added just a little bit of white gesso over the top of those scribbles, giving it just a little bit more interest. And now with my Stabilo all, bringing in a little bit of that darker pigment. I hope that you guys loved today's spread and enjoyed embellishing this tag with me. I hope that you continue to follow along, and I can't wait to see you next week for the Play Along Journal series. Have a great rest of your day. See you next time.